Imagine for a moment that you are looking at a beautiful tapestry. It is rich with color, intricate in design, telling a story that captivates your heart and mind. Now step closer. Look at the individual threads. Some are frayed, others knotted. There are loose ends and imperfections. Yet, when you step back, these very imperfections contribute to the overall beauty of the piece. This tapestry, my friends, is you. It is me. It is every single one of us. We are all perfectly imperfect. And it is time we not only accepted this truth, but embraced it with open arms and grateful hearts. For too long, we have been chasing an illusion of perfection. We have been told by society, by the media, even by well-meaning friends and family, that we need to be flawless, that our body should look a certain way, our career should follow a predetermined path, our relationships should mirror some idealized version of love and harmony. But let me tell you something profound. Perfection is a myth. It is a mirage that keeps us running, exhausted and parched, across the desert of our own self-doubt. The truth is, our imperfections are not flaws to be corrected. They are the very essence of our humanity. They are the chisel marks left by life as it sculpts us into who we are meant to be. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who seemed perfect? Someone who had it all together all the time? If you have, I can guarantee you one. You didn't really know them, because beneath that polished exterior, they too are wrestling with doubts, fears, and insecurities. They too are perfectly imperfect. Now, I'm not suggesting we should revel in our flaws or use them as excuses for poor behavior. Not at all. What I'm proposing is a radical shift in perspective. I'm inviting you to see your imperfections not as barriers to your happiness and success, but as unique brushstrokes in the masterpiece of your life. Let's consider for a moment the Japanese art of kintsugi. When a piece of pottery breaks, instead of discarding it or trying to hide the cracks, the artisans fill the seams with gold. The result is a piece that is more beautiful, more valuable than it was before it broke. The imperfection becomes the very thing that elevates it, from ordinary to extraordinary. You, my friends, are living kintsugi. Your struggles, your setbacks, your so-called flaws, these are the gold that makes you uniquely precious. But here's the catch. You have to see it that way. You have to choose to fill those cracks with gold rather than shame or regret. How do we do this? How do we embrace our perfect imperfection? It starts with awareness. It begins with understanding that every experience, every mistake, every triumph, and every failure is shaping you into who you are meant to be. Think back to a time when you faced a significant challenge. Perhaps you lost a job, ended a relationship, or faced a health crisis. In that moment, it may have felt like your world was falling apart. But look at where you are now. You survived. You learned. You grew. That challenge, as painful as it was, added another layer of depth to your character, another shade of color to your tapestry. It is often our deepest wounds that give birth to our greatest strengths. The person who has known poverty becomes a passionate advocate for economic justice. The one who has battled addiction becomes a beacon of hope for others struggling with the same demons. The child who felt different and alone grows up to create communities of belonging. Our imperfections, you see, are not random flaws. They are invitations to grow, to learn, to connect with others on a deeper level. They are the raw material from which we forge our most authentic selves. But embracing our perfect imperfection isn't just about self-acceptance. It is also about extending that same grace to others. When we recognize and honor our own humanity, flaws and all, we become more compassionate toward the struggles of those around us. Imagine a world where we all understood this truth. A world where we no longer felt the need to hide our vulnerabilities or project an image of flawlessness. A world where we could show up as we are, scars and all, and know that we are worthy of love and belonging. This world is possible, but it starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with each of us making the conscious choice to embrace our perfect imperfection. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Wayne, you were saying, this all sounds good in theory, but how do I actually do this? How do I learn to love my flaws when I have spent a lifetime trying to hide them? I'm glad you asked, because while this shift in perspective is simple in concept, it takes practice to embody. So let me offer you some practical steps you can take to start embracing your perfect imperfection today. First, practice self-compassion. The next time you make a mistake or fall short of your expectations, pause, take a deep breath, and then speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend. Would you berate a friend for being human? Of course not. You'd offer words of comfort and encouragement. Do the same for yourself. Second, reframe your self-talk. Instead of saying, I'm so stupid for making that mistake, try, I'm learning and growing and mistakes are part of that process. Instead of I'm not good enough, say I'm doing my best and my best is enough. Your words have power. Use them to lift yourself up, not tear yourself down. Third, celebrate your uniqueness. Those quirks that you've always tried to hide, they're what make you you. They're what make you interesting, relatable, and real. Start seeing them as assets rather than liability. Fourth, practice vulnerability. This one can be scary, I know. We have been conditioned to believe that vulnerability is weakness, but the truth is it is the most powerful form of strength. When you allow others to see your true self, imperfections and all, you create space for genuine connection. You give others permission to be real too. Fifth, focus on progress, not perfection. Set goals, absolutely. Strive to be the best version of yourself, of course. But measure your success by how far you've come, not by how far you still have to go. Every step forward, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. Sixth, surround yourself with people who accept you as you are. We become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. Choose to be around those who uplift you, who see your worth, who appreciate your perfect imperfection. And seventh, serve others. When we step outside of our own concerns and contribute to the well-being of others, we gain perspective. We realize that our imperfections don't define us, our actions do. Our kindness, our compassion, our willingness to make a difference. These are what truly matter. Now let's dig a little deeper. Let's explore what it really means to be perfectly imperfect in different areas of our lives. In our relationships, being perfectly imperfect means showing up authentically. It means being willing to say, I'm sorry when we're wrong, and I forgive you when others falter. It means understanding that love is not about finding someone perfect, but about finding someone whose imperfections complement our own. I remember a couple I counseled years ago. They came to me on the brink of divorce, each listing the other's flaws as reasons why their marriage couldn't work. I asked them to do something unconventional, to list what they loved about each other's quirks and imperfections. Reluctantly, they did. And you know what happened? They rediscovered the very things that had drawn them together in the first place. They realized that what they saw as flaws were actually the unique traits that made their partner special. Their marriage not only survived, but thrived when they learned to embrace each other's perfect imperfection. In our careers, being perfectly imperfect means understanding that success is not about never making mistakes. It is about learning from them. It is about bringing our whole selves to our work, including our doubts and insecurities, because these are often the well springs of our creativity and innovation. Think about some of the most successful people in history. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Steve Jobs was fired from the company he founded before returning to lead it to unprecedented success. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by multiple publishers before becoming a global phenomenon. These individuals didn't succeed despite their setbacks. They succeeded because of what they learned from them. In our personal growth, being perfectly imperfect means embracing the journey. It means understanding that self-improvement is about reaching some final state of perfection, but about continual evolution. It is about being okay with not having all the answers, with sometimes taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I have often said that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Part of that human experience is learning, growing, and sometimes stumbling. When we embrace this truth, we free ourselves from the tyranny of expectations and open ourselves to the joy of discovery. Now let's talk about society. We live in a world that often seems obsessed with perfection. Social media feeds us carefully curated images of perfect lives. Advertising tells us we're not good enough unless we buy this product or achieve that look. The message seems to be that if we're not perfect, we're somehow failing. But what if we could create a different kind of society? What if we could build communities that celebrate diversity, that understand that our differences are our strengths? What if we could create spaces where vulnerability is valued, where authenticity is prized above conformity? This isn't just a pipe dream. It is happening right now in pockets all around the world. There are schools embracing a growth mindset, teaching children that their abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. There are companies fostering cultures of innovation by encouraging employees to take risks and learn from failures. There are communities coming together to support each other, recognizing that we're all in this messy, beautiful human experience together. You have the power to be part of this change. Every time you choose authenticity over pretense, every time you respond with compassion instead of judgment, every time you embrace your own perfect imperfection and encourage others to do the same, you are contributing to a more accepting, more genuine world. Let's talk for a moment about the role of mindfulness in embracing our perfect imperfection. Mindfulness, at its core, is about being present in the moment without judgment. It is about observing our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. When we practice mindfulness, we create space between our experiences and our reactions to them. We learn to observe our imperfections without immediately labeling them as good or bad. We begin to see them simply as part of the rich tapestry of our lives. The next time you notice something about yourself that you typically judge as a flaw, pause. Take a deep breath. Observe the thought or feeling without attaching to it. Notice where you feel it in your body. And then gently let it go. This simple practice can be transformative in how we relate to our. Now, I want to address something important. Embracing our perfect imperfection does not mean we stop striving for growth. It does not mean we accept harmful behaviors or give up on our dreams. Rather, it means we pursue our goals from a place of self-acceptance rather than self-rejection. When we accept ourselves as we are, we create a stable foundation from which to grow. We're no longer driven by fear or shame, but by a genuine desire to unfold into the fullest expression of who we can be. Think of it like this. A tree does not grow by rejecting its current state. It does not berate its leaves for not being big enough or its branches for not reaching high enough. It simply continues to grow, day by day, season by season, reaching towards the light while remaining firmly rooted in the earth. You are that tree. Your imperfections are your roots, grounding you in your unique human experience. Your aspirations are your branches reaching towards the sky. Both are essential, both are beautiful. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next week, I want you to become an explorer of your own imperfections. But here's the twist. Instead of looking for flaws to fix, I want you to look for the gifts hidden within your imperfection. Did your tendency to overthink lead you to solve a complex problem? Did your sensitivity, which you've always seen as a weakness, allow you to connect deeply with someone in need? Did a failure teach you a valuable lesson that you've carried with you? Start keeping a perfect imperfection journal. Each day, write down one thing about yourself that you've typically seen as a flaw. Then, write down how this very trait has served you or others in some way. You might be surprised at what you discover. My friends, you are not a problem to be solved. You are a mystery to be lived. Your imperfections are not obstacles on your path. They are the path. They are the unique ways in which life moves through you, shaping you, teaching you, guiding you towards your highest self. In a world that often demands perfection, choosing to embrace your perfect imperfection is a radical act. It is a declaration of self-love, a testament to your courage, and an invitation for others to do the same. So stand tall in your perfect imperfection. Wear your supposed flaws like badges of honor, for they tell the story of where you've been and who you've become. Let your vulnerabilities be the bridge that connects you to others. Let your mistakes be the fertile soil from which your wisdom grows. You are perfectly imperfect, and that is your superpower. It is what makes you relatable, lovable, and real. It is what allows you to connect, to create, to inspire. It is what makes you uniquely and beautifully you. As you leave here today, I want you to remember this. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be fully, authentically, gloriously yourself. And that self, with all its quirks, its wounds, its imperfections, is exactly who the world needs you to be. Embrace your perfect imperfection. Love it. Celebrate it. Share it with the world. Because when you do, you give others permission to do the same. And in that sharing, in that mutual recognition of our shared humanity, we create a world of greater compassion, deeper connection, and truer joy. You are perfectly imperfect, and so am I. And in that imperfection, we are all perfectly beautiful. May you go forth and shine in your perfect imperfection. The world is waiting for the gift that only you can give, the gift of your authentic, imperfect, wonderful self. Life is not about waiting for the storms to pass. It is about learning to dance in the rain. And sometimes the most beautiful dances are those where we stumble, where we miss a step, where we laugh at our own missteps and keep on moving. So dance your dance, sing your song, tell your story. The world needs your voice, your vision, your perfectly imperfect self. You are enough just as you are. You always have been, and you always will be. Go forth and live from that truth. Embrace your perfect imperfection and watch as your life transforms into a masterpiece of authenticity, courage, and love. Well, and may your perfectly imperfect journey be filled with joy, growth, and endless discovery. Building on the themes and ideas presented in the speech, let's explore further dimensions of embracing our perfect imperfect. In our physical health, being perfectly imperfect means honoring our bodies as they are while still striving for wellness. It is about understanding that health isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. Your journey to well-being might look different from someone else's. and that's okay. It is about nourishing your body with good food, joyful movement, and restful sleep, not punishing it for not meeting an arbitrary standard. Consider how our perception of beauty has been warped by airbrushed images and impossible standards. True beauty lies in our uniqueness, in the laugh lines that show a life well lived, in the scars that tell stories of resilience. When we embrace our physical imperfections, we free ourselves from the tyranny of comparison and open ourselves to true self-love. In our spiritual lives, perfect imperfection is about understanding that doubt is not the enemy of faith, but often the pathway to deeper understanding. It is about recognizing that our spiritual journey is not a straight line, but a winding path with detours and backtracking that ultimately lead us to greater wisdom. Many of the world's great spiritual leaders have spoken about the importance of embracing our imperfections. The Dalai Lama, for instance, often emphasizes the value of compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. When we can be compassionate towards our own failings, we open the door to true spiritual growth. In our creative endeavors, perfect imperfection is the very essence of originality. Think about the great artists throughout history. Their works weren't perfect reproductions of reality. They were interpretations filtered through the lens of the artist's unique perspective. Van Gogh's swirling skies, Picasso's abstract figures. These imperfections are what make their art unforgettable. When we embrace our perfect imperfection in our creative work, we free ourselves from the paralysis of perfectionism. We allow ourselves to experiment, to play, to make mistakes that might lead to breakthroughs. Remember, the most interesting notes in music are often the dissonant ones. In our intellectual pursuits, perfect imperfection means embracing the Socratic wisdom of knowing that we don't know everything. It is about cultivating a beginner's mind, always open to learning and growing. Our intellectual imperfections, the gaps in our knowledge, are not weaknesses, but opportunities for exploration and discovery. Consider how many great scientific discoveries have come from mistakes or unexpected results. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin because of a contaminated Petri dish. Our imperfect understanding of the world is what drives us to question, to explore. In our communities, embracing perfect imperfection means creating spaces where diversity is truly celebrated. It is about understanding that a harmonious community is one where everyone agrees all the time, but one where differences are respected and valued. It is about creating a culture where vulnerability is seen as strength, where sharing our struggles is as important as sharing our successes. Imagine a workplace where employees feel safe to take risks, to voice unconventional ideas, to admit when they're struggling. Imagine schools where children are taught not just to ace tests, but to develop resilience, emotional intelligence, and creativity. These are the kinds of communities we can build when we embrace our collective perfect imperfection. In our relationship with the natural world, perfect imperfection reminds us that nature does not strive for flawlessness. A forest is not a manicured garden. It is a complex, messy, interdependent ecosystem where every creature, from the mightiest tree to the tiniest insect, plays a crucial role. When we embrace this vision of perfect imperfection, we develop a deeper, more sustainable relationship with our planet. As we conclude, remember that embracing your perfect imperfection is not a destination, but a journey. It is a daily practice, a moment-by-moment choice to love yourself, to accept others, and to engage fully with the beautiful messiness of life. It is about recognizing that you are a masterpiece in progress, always evolving, always growing, always perfectly imperfect. So go forth, my friends, into this imperfect world. Bring your whole self, your talents and your flaws, your strengths and your vulnerabilities, for it is in the interplay of light and shadow, of joy and sorrow, of success and failure, that the true beauty of your life unfolds. You are perfectly imperfect, and that is your greatest gift to the world. Let's delve deeper into how embracing our perfect imperfection can transform various aspects of our lives. In our personal growth journey, perfect imperfection teaches us to be patient with ourselves. It is about understanding that growth is not linear. There will be days when you feel like you are taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But even in those moments of perceived regression, you are learning, adapting, and becoming stronger. Consider the metaphor of a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. The struggle to break free is what gives the butterfly the strength to fly. In the same way, our struggles and imperfections are not holding us back. They're preparing us for flight. In our leadership roles, whether at work, in our families, or in our communities, perfect imperfection allows us to be more authentic and relatable. When leaders acknowledge their own imperfections, they create an environment where others feel safe to be themselves. This kind of vulnerable leadership fosters innovation, builds trust, and creates stronger, more resilient teams. Think about the leaders you admire most. chances are they're not the ones who present a facade of infallibility, but those who are honest about their challenges and show how they're working to overcome them. In our approach to time management and productivity, Perfect Imperfection reminds us that life is not just about checking items off a to-do list. It is about being present in each moment, even when things don't go according to plan. It is about finding joy in the process, not just the outcome. Instead of striving for the perfect schedule or the ideal productivity system, embrace the ebb and flow of your energy and motivation. Some days you'll accomplish more than others, and that's okay. The goal is progress, not perfection. In our financial lives, Perfect Imperfection helps us develop a healthier relationship with money. It is about understanding that financial well-being is not about having a perfect credit score or never making a money mistake. It is about learning from our financial missteps, being adaptable in the face of economic uncertainties, and aligning our spending with our values. Remember, even the most successful investors make wrong calls sometimes. What sets them apart is their ability to learn from these experiences and adjust their strategies accordingly. In our parenting or mentoring roles, embracing Perfect Imperfection allows us to model resilience and self-compassion for the next generation. When children see adults acknowledging their mistakes, learning from them, and moving forward with self-kindness, they learn that it is safe to take risks and that failure is not the end, but a stepping stone to growth. Imagine raising a generation that does not fear failure, but sees it as a natural part of the learning process. These are the innovators, the problem solvers, the compassionate leaders of tomorrow. In our romantic relationships, Perfect Imperfection reminds us that love is not about finding a flawless partner or being one ourselves. It is about finding someone whose imperfections complement our own, someone who challenges us to grow while accepting us as we are. True intimacy comes not from presenting an idealized version of ourselves, but from allowing ourselves to be truly seen, imperfections and all. It is in our vulnerability that we create the deepest connections. In our approach to personal style and self-expression, Perfect Imperfection encourages us to celebrate our unique quirks rather than trying to conform to societal standards. Whether it is in fashion, home decor, or any form of self-expression, it is our individual flair, the things that make us different, that make us interesting and memorable. Think of the most stylish people you know. Chances are they're not slavishly following trends, but mixing elements in their own unique way, confidently embracing their personal aesthetic. In our approach to learning and education, Perfect Imperfection shifts our focus from grades and test scores to the joy of discovery and the development of critical thinking skills. It is about fostering a love of learning that extends beyond the classroom, encouraging curiosity and the courage to ask questions. Imagine educational systems that value creativity and original thinking as much as memorization and standardized test performance. This is the kind of education that prepares students not just for exams, but for life. In our relationship with technology, Perfect Imperfection reminds us to use these tools mindfully, without becoming slaves to the illusion of digital perfection. It is about using social media to connect authentically rather than to project an idealized image. It is about embracing the benefits of technology while also valuing unplugged time and face-to-face connection. Behind every perfectly curated social media feed is a real, imperfect human being. By sharing our authentic selves online, we create a more honest, supportive digital community. In our approach to goal setting and achievement, Perfect Imperfection encourages us to dream big while also being flexible in our methods. It is about understanding that there are many paths to success and that sometimes our detours and failures lead us to even better destinations than we initially imagined. Think of your life as a grand adventure rather than a predetermined route. Every unexpected turn is an opportunity for discovery and growth. As we integrate this philosophy of perfect imperfection into every aspect of our lives, we begin to experience a profound shift. We move from a state of constant striving and dissatisfaction to one of gratitude and contentment. We learn to appreciate the journey as much as the destination. This does not mean we stop growing or pursuing our goals. On the contrary, when we embrace our perfect imperfection, we're freed from the paralysis of perfectionism. We become more innovative, more resilient, more compassionate, both with ourselves and with others. So I challenge you, my friends, to look at your life through this lens of perfect imperfection. See the beauty in your flaws, the strength in your struggles, the wisdom in your mistakes. Embrace your whole self, the light and the shadow, the strengths and the weaknesses. For it is in this embrace that you'll find true freedom. Freedom to be authentically yourself. Freedom to pursue your dreams without fear of failure. Freedom to love and be loved, imperfections and all. Yeah, you are not a problem to be fixed, but a wondrous mystery unfolding. Your imperfections are not flaws in the system. They are the system. They make you unique, relatable, and infinitely valuable. So go forth and shine in your perfect imperfection. The world is waiting for the gifts that only you, in all your flawed beauty, can offer. Embrace your journey, celebrate your growth, and know that you are, at every moment, exactly who you are meant to be. You are perfectly imperfect, and that is your superpower. Use it wisely, use it often, and watch as it transforms not only your life, but the lives of those around you. For in embracing our own perfect imperfection, we give others permission to do the same, creating a more authentic, compassionate, and joyful world for all. As we continue to explore the concept of perfect imperfection, let's consider its application in even more areas of our lives. In our approach to fitness and physical activity, embracing perfect imperfection means focusing on how our bodies feel and function rather than how they look. It is about celebrating what our bodies can do rather than criticizing what they can't. Whether you are a seasoned athlete or just starting your fitness journey, every workout is an opportunity to honor your body's unique capabilities and limitations. Consider how this mindset might transform your relationship with exercise. Instead of punishing yourself for missing a workout or not meeting a specific goal, you might find joy in movement for its own sake. You might explore new activities without fear of looking foolish, knowing that imperfection is part of the learning process. In our civic engagement and political participation, perfect imperfection reminds us that no single person or party has all the answers. It encourages us to approach complex issues with humility and openness, recognizing that progress often comes through collaboration and compromise. By acknowledging our own biases and limitations, we create space for more nuanced, constructive dialogue. Imagine a political landscape where leaders openly acknowledge mistakes and work together to find solutions, where voters value integrity and willingness to learn over the illusion of infallibility. This is the kind of civic culture we can cultivate when we embrace our collective perfect imperfection. In our approach to environmental stewardship, perfect imperfection helps us strike a balance between taking action and avoiding eco-anxiety. It is about making sustainable choices where we can, while forgiving ourselves for the times when we fall short. It is recognizing that every small action counts, even if we can't solve all the world's environmental problems single-handedly. Think about how this mindset might change your approach to eco-friendly living. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the enormity of climate change, you might focus on the positive impact of your daily choices. You might be inspired to innovate, finding creative solutions to environmental challenges in your community. In our consumption habits and relationship with material possessions, perfect imperfection encourages us to value quality over quantity, authenticity over brand name. It is about finding beauty in handmade items with their slight irregularities, or in secondhand goods that carry the stories of their previous owners. It is about creating homes and wardrobes that reflect our true selves rather than chasing the latest trends. Imagine the freedom that comes from no longer needing to keep up with the Joneses. When we embrace perfect imperfection in our material lives, we can focus on what truly brings us joy and aligns with our values. In our approach to aging, perfect imperfection helps us see the beauty in every stage of life. Instead of fighting against the natural process of aging, we can embrace the wisdom, experience, and perspective that come with years lived. It is about seeing wrinkles as marks of laughter and life experiences, gray hairs as badges of survival and growth. Consider how this shift in perspective might change your relationship with aging. Instead of fearing getting older, you might look forward to the continued evolution of your perfectly imperfect self. You might see each birthday not as a marker of decline, but as a celebration of another year of growth and experience. In our approach to cultural diversity, perfect imperfection reminds us that no culture is superior to another. Each has its own unique strengths and challenges, its own beautiful traditions and areas for growth. By embracing the perfect imperfection of our own culture and those of others, we open ourselves to true cultural exchange and understanding. Imagine a world where cultural differences are seen not as barriers, but as opportunities for learning and connection, where we can appreciate the richness of our global tapestry without expecting any culture, including our own, to be flawless. In our approach to technology innovation, perfect imperfection encourages us to value progress over perfection. It is about releasing products or ideas when they're good enough to be useful, rather than holding back until they're flawless. It is about seeing each version or iteration as a step in an ongoing journey of improvement. Think about how many world-changing innovations might never have seen the light of day if their creators had waited for perfection. By embracing perfect imperfection and innovation, we create a culture that values bold ideas and continuous improvement. In our spiritual philosophical explorations, perfect imperfection reminds us that doubt and questioning are not signs of weakness, but opportunities for deeper understanding. It is about being comfortable with mystery, with not having all the answers. It is about recognizing that our understanding of the universe and our place in it is always evolving. Imagine the freedom that comes from embracing the perfect imperfection of your spiritual journey. Instead of feeling pressured to have unwavering faith or complete certainty, you might find peace in the ongoing process of seeking and growing. In our approach to social justice and activism, perfect imperfection helps us balance urgency with patience, passion with compassion. It is about recognizing that societal change is a long-term process with steps forward and occasional steps back. It is about celebrating progress while continually striving for better. Consider how this mindset might sustain you in the face of slow progress or setbacks. By embracing perfect imperfection in our activism, we can maintain hope and continue working for change without burning out. As we conclude this exploration of perfect imperfection, remember that this concept is not about lowering your standards or settling for less. It is about freeing yourself from the paralysis of perfectionism and embracing the full, messy, beautiful reality of being human. It is about understanding that your worth is not determined by your achievements or your adherence to some arbitrary standard of perfection. Your worth is inherent, unchanging, rooted in your very existence as a unique, perfectly imperfect being. So go forth, my friends, and live your perfectly perfect lives with courage, compassion, and joy. Embrace your whole self, your strengths and your struggles, your victories and your vulnerabilities, for it is in this embrace that you will find true freedom, authentic connection, and the ability to make your unique contribution to the world. Remember, in a universe of infinite possibilities, you are a one-of-a-kind miracle. Your perfect imperfection is not a flaw to be fixed, but a gift to be cherished. Embrace it, celebrate it, and let it light your way as you journey through this beautiful, imperfect